Yeah, absolutely. If it's time to share alpha, then I'm happy to do so. Um, I mean, I guess we already like mentioned some of the things we are working on like publicly. I think one of the bigger things is, of course, bringing on the validator rebalancing mechanism also to SDK Atom. Of course, we'll have to like see and get that like approved by governance. I think everyone needs to be on board, set the parameters accordingly, so that we come up with a solution that is fine for Atom as well. But that, of course, we've already talked about. I think on the Dexter side, I think we're very happy to see that the proposal for XPRT governance adoption will pass soon as well. And with that, I think we'll also bring this feature, which is called ILPU. It's actually standing for Instant Liquidity or Instant LP on bonding, where LP is like an LP position, liquidity position actually in Dexter, which will allow liquidity providers to actually unbond their liquidity instantly, even they have bonded it for 7 days. They will actually be able to unbond it at a small cost, get that liquidity instantly, and for this, like it's a great feature for liquidity providers who can get out of their position very easily. And for the protocol, it starts to generate some fees, so that's actually nice to see. So excited about that. Like that will still ship this year, and I think now to come to like the more interesting things that we've teased about a little bit, and I think it's been a feature that has been demanded or like been requested quite often is SDK XPRT, and I think we can start with that. So SDK XPRT, of course, as pStake does liquid staking, it's on the persistence chain. I think the logical question that we got often is like, why are we not doing SDK XPRT? I think the answer is like we are doing it. It had to be like the right moment, and we had to have the different pieces of technology in place, which actually we've managed to do over the years. So it started with the adoption of the LSM. That was a core piece of technology that we needed. But now I'm happy to announce that actually we have SDK XPRT on our internal testnet, and it will be possible to bring that to the community early January next year. It's still being audited and things like that. But it is in unique product in its way, because we'll offer different things. I think the first part will be to obviously liquid stake the XPRT that you have available in your wallet, so that you can actually use those tokens in DeFi while you continue to earn your staking rewards. But alternatively, like because we also have the LSM on our chain, we will actually allow users to use their staked XPRT as well to convert that into SDK XPRT. Although with the caveat there that, and I think this is super cool, and this kind of brings me to an announcement of like collaboration between Dexter and pStake, which is the first of its kind, where you can actually immediately bring that SDK XPRT into the pool, which provides liquidity for both XPRT and SDK XPRT at the same time. So you can actually convert your you can convert your staked XPRT into a liquid staked XPRT/XPRT pool on Dexter in one click. So that's really something super cool, and then like required collaboration between the different teams. It's a part of like original like on-chain things with like smart contract things combined. So I don't want to go into the specifics and the technical details. But to me, it's super exciting that we can bring this feature and kind of have a win-win. Like we have the SDK XPRT for pStake, which will hopefully create a lot of traction and TVL. But it will also allow Dexter to create that liquidity for the pool and for the token at the same time. So it's the first of its kind. Yeah, I'm super excited about it. Now, besides that, I think pStake has a few other very like cool announcements, or like a very cool expansion plan. I think it includes tokens like SDK DYDX, SDK TIA for Celestia. A little bit less concrete on dates there, because we're very dependent on what those teams will allow us, and like what they will ship. But definitely a lot of highlights there. And then I'm not sure if I'm allowed, Mikhail, already to go into the next step, or like what this collaboration between Dexter and Peastake kind of made us realize. Can I go into those details already, or should I wait?
Absolutely, absolutely. Go for it.
All
Yeah.
right, all right. So what, like, one of the things that we realized by having like people like from different teams, like between Dexter and Peastake and also the Core One chain, work very closely together, is that actually the sum of the parts, I think, as Tushar mentioned it in the beginning of the call, is often bigger than the parts itself. And the cool thing about that is that, like, what we realized is actually that we're building an ecosystem where you have the chain, of course, which is like the backbone of everything. Then you have the P-Stake app, and we're attracting users there, attracting TVL there. We have branding there. We have everything there. On the Dexter side, it's similar. Like, we have a different app, everything, trying to kind of bring users there, bring TVL, bring traction there. But what we realized is actually if we cooperate, we can do a lot more with the same amount of means. So we came up with the thought process of what would these things look like now if they're like more tightly integrated. And of course, the SDK XPRT feature that we're bringing is a first of those. But actually, we're going to go one step further, and we're going to bring something for which we haven't really fully decided yet on the name, and we'll see about that. But so far, I like to call it like the persistence super app or the persistence hub or some things like that, where you can actually do a lot of these things that you currently can do on both Peastake and Dexter, but you can do them in one smooth app. Like we've had the great benefit of like being able to liquid stake and let's say use your liquid staked assets on one chain without having to switch chains and use IBC transfer between those, but you still had to change apps. Now that once we have like a unified app or a super app, you won't even have to change apps. You can actually do all of that in the persistence app itself. So that will be super cool to kind of bring those things together. It will be easy, like you meant, let's say SDK DYDX, and you can immediately use that on Dexter, and that would actually all use the same front end. That would be super cool and handy, so that users don't have to switch around. So that's one of the things we're working on. Designs already, kind of have a very high level idea of how all of that will work. So that's something we're shipping somewhere in 2024, but super excited about that. Then maybe one thing, I'm not sure, Mikhail, if we've mentioned it already, but so the thing on SDK XPRT, we're actually going to call it something that might sound familiar to some people. So this feature that we've come up with, it's called superfluid LPing. So I'm not sure how familiar people are with the term of like superfluid staking, which is a term that was created by the Osmosis team, in which once you have an LP position, basically what they do on Osmosis is that you can, or a part of that LP position is in the background going to be staked to earn extra rewards, actually, to make sure that those tokens are efficiently used and kind of increases capital efficiency that way. So that's called superfluid staking by Osmosis. Now, what is superfluid LPing by Persistence? It's actually something very similar. So on Osmosis, you first LP and then stake. On Persistence, what you'll be able to do is you'll first stake and then LP. So that's why we call this feature Superfluid LP. But that kind of summarizes the feature that we're bringing in January. I know I've jumped around a little bit from SDK XPRT to Super App and back to SDK XPRT, but it's just to show like how everything is actually very connected in a way. Once like XPRT governance is like fully adopted for Dexter as well, I think it will be such a huge benefit to kind of bring things even closer together, make it even tighter, and all of this will kind of benefit UX and UI for our users.